with Radha Madhav. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Madhava Shri Radhe.
Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Shri Radha Natpar. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjalashalakaya Chakshura Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Welcome devotees. We are here gathered to discuss systematically studying on Srimad Bhagavatam. We are going to study today the Canto 2, Chapter 2, verse number 13 and 14. Before we start off, I like to express my gratitude to our beloved Sri Prem Sindhu Prabhu and Sri Radhika Kishore Devi Mataji for allowing me, and ISKCON Columbus, thank you for allowing me to express my gratitude, and also allowing me to pass my thoughts on Srimad Bhagavatam as we study. If during the conversation and discussion, if I make any mistakes, then that mistake is mine. So please forgive me as being a student of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I expect your blessings in return. Hare Krishna. So today, before we start off the topic, very briefly, I like to just recap what we have studied so far, very briefly. In the first canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam, what we study is there is a conversation between Sud Goswami and sages in Nimasharanya, and basically, very categorically, they have expressed and described that Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and also during that conversations we studied that Parikshit Maharaj, how he took birth and his activities, and how he chastised Kali Yuga. We also learned that Shringi Rishi cursed Parikshit Maharaj, and then Sukdev Goswami, actually how he told Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. During the discussions, as we have studied in Canto 1, it was very clear that in the canto, it is very vividly we understood that the exclusive dependency of devotee is on Lord Krishna itself, and Lord Krishna is very Bhakta Vatsal. That's what we learned so far in Canto 1. And on Canto 2, so far what I have studied as well, that when Sukdev Goswami talks about Lord Krishna, he also established that Lord Shri Krishna himself is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also, we learned a little bit about Karma Kanda, so the worship of demigods. Of course, it's not been detailed and it's not been prescribed, but that's what the conversation has been talked about. And now, today, we are going to talk about meditation, on how to do a meditations. Also later on, as we progress on this canto, chapter 2, on canto 2, we will learn about the super soul, the Paramatma, Lord Shri Krishna. And obviously the Krishna is a God and he's a Supreme Personality Godhead, and how he actually comes to protection for his devotees, that we're going to learn later on in this canto. So that's a very brief summary of what we studied so far. So we will start off with chapter 2, canto 2, chapter 2, verse number 13. Please repeat after me as we go along. Okay. Ekoshu angani diyanu bhavayet padadi yavat hasitam Gadabritah Jitam sthanam apoyam dharaye Param shuddhayati diryatha yatha. Now we're going to go on the synonyms. Ekasha, one to one or one after another.
One to one or one after another.
Angani, limbs. Dhirya, by attention. Anubhet, meditate upon.
Meditate upon.
Padadi, adi, legs, etc. Yavata, until. Hasitam, smiling. Gadabritah, the personality of Godhead. Jitam, gradually controlling the mind. Sthanam, place. Apoya, living. Dharayat, meditate upon. Param, higher and higher. Shuddhayati, purified. Dhiha, intelligence. Yatha, as much as. Now we are going to study the translation. The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to his smiling face. The meditation should be concentrated upon the lotus feet, then the thighs, and in this way higher and higher. The more the mind becomes fixed upon the different parts of the limbs, one after another, the more the intelligence becomes purified. Okay, we are going to study the purport now. The purport. The process of meditation recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam is not to fix one's attention on something impersonal or void. The meditation should concentrate on the person of the Supreme Godhead, either on his Virata Rupa, the gigantic universal form, or his Sat Chit Anand Vigraha as described in the scriptures. There are authorized descriptions of Vishnu forms and there are authorized representations of deities in the temple. Thus one can practice meditating upon the deity, concentrating his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord and gradually rising higher and higher up to his smiling face. According to the Bhagavatam school, the Lord's rasa dancing is smiling face of the Lord, since it is recommended in the verse that one should gradually progress from the lotus feet up to the smiling face. We shall not jump at once to understand that Lord pastime in rasa dance. It is better to practice concentrating our attention by offering flowers and tulsi to lotus feet of the Lord. In this way, we gradually become purified by the archana process. We dress the Lord, bathe him, etc. And all these transcendental activities help us to purify our existence. When we reach the higher standards of purification, if we see smiling face of the Lord or hear the rasa dance pastime of the Lord, then we can relish his activities. In Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, the rasa dance pastime are delineated in the 10th canto, chapter 29 to 34. The more one concentrates on the transcendental form of the Lord, either on the lotus feet, the calves, the thighs, or the chest, the more one becomes purified. In the verse, it is clearly stated, the more the intelligence becomes purified, which means the more one becomes detached from the sense gratification. Our intelligence in the present conditioned state of life is impure due to being engaged in sense gratification. The result of meditation on the transcendental form of the Lord will be manifested by one's detachment from sense gratification. Therefore, the ultimate purpose of meditation is purification of one's intelligence. Those who are engrossed in sense gratifications cannot be allowed to participate in archana or to touch the transcendental form of Radha Krishna or Vishnu deities. For them, it is better to meditate upon the gigantic Virata Rupa of the Lord as recommended in the next verse. The impersonalist and the voidist are therefore recommended to meditate upon the universal form of the Lord, where the devotees are recommended to meditate on the deity worship in the temple, because the impersonalists and the voidists are not sufficiently purified in their spiritual activities. Archana is not meant for them. Hare Krishna. So let's study the verse and let's see what exactly Sukadeva Goswami tried to explain us here. Now we can just start off with the one question here. The question I have is, why should we meditate and what is the ultimate goal of the meditation? Mataji, would you like to say something on that?
Prabhupada says the purification of intelligence.
Yes.
And developing our love for Krishna so we can go back on that tomorrow.
Exactly. Thank you, Mataji. Yes, that's right. So see, if you learn the first sentence of the verse, and then I can explain what exactly it means. It says eka ekosha angani. That means one after another. Angani means limbs. Eka ekosha angani diyanu bhavayet. Means very attentively you meditate upon. Now see, if you understand that Srimad Bhagavatam, this is metaphorically we talk about, is that when he says that you need to concentrate whilst meditating upon first the lotus feet of the Lord. Why does Sukadeva Goswami like us to meditate upon the lotus feet of the God? Because if you compare with the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first two cantos are the lotus feet of the Lord, as we all know. The canto 3 and 4 are the thighs of the Lord. Fifth canto is the navel of the Lord. Sixth canto is the chest of the Lord. 7 and 8 are the arms of the Lord. The 9th is the neck of the Lord. The 10th is the smiling face of the Lord. The 11th is the forehead. And the 12th, the ultimate one, is the head. Now Prabhupada explained us in many times in his purport that one should not jump onto the 10th canto right away, where Lord Krishna and Radharani, Srimati Radharani's dance, Raslila. Why is that? See, once what happened, Prabhupada visited a devotee, and a devotee inquired after his lecture that, Prabhupada, can you please tell me about Raslila? And Prabhupada is so elevated devotee, you should the Bhakta. He said that I have no qualification to talk about Raslila. Now why is that? Why did Prabhupada say that he did not have any qualification? Is it really so? Prabhupada did not have any qualification to talk about it? So why, Prabhu, you think that Prabhupada said that? Means what you think of? Why is the reason?
Maybe because the person he was talking to was not qualified to hear.
Exactly right, Prabhu. Exactly right. Thank you, Prabhu. Exactly right. Prabhu said rightly. The person whom Prabhupada was speaking to, he was not qualified. Now see, what happens is that when Ras Lila is the ultimate form, is the ultimate transcendental of Lord Sri Krishna's pastime. So Prabhupada wants us to learn the Srimad Bhagavatam step by step, progress, so that we can understand the transcendental features, the transcendental pastimes of the Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna, so that once you know who is Krishna, then you would be able to understand and you will be able to relate what Krishna did in Rasa Leela. If you straight away jump onto the Rasa Leela, one would not be able to relate oneself. So here, when it says Padadi Yavata Hasitam Gada Britaha. Now when it says Padadi means the lotus feet, Yavata Hasitam. So one should, Yavat means until, Hasitam, smiling face, Gada Britaha. Now why did Goswami said Gada Britaha? Because he talking about whom? The one is holding a Gada, with a mace. Now we know the Lord Vishnu is holding a Kaumodi. Kaumodi is the name of the mace. So he is particularly referring to Lord Vishnu or Krishna. He is not talking about somebody else. He is talking about the Lord Vishnu or Krishna himself. That's why he says Padadi Yavada Hasitam Gata Gada Britaha. Going further, he says Jitam Jitam Sthanam Apoyam Dharayet. Now this is very interesting to understand. It says Jitam Jitam. So as you control yourself, as you have control over the meditations, sthanam apoyam. So leave that place and then gradually go upwards. Now see, we understand this one. We have a beautiful deity of Sri Radha Natpur. It's a very unique deity, I would say. The reason I'm saying this is because in this deity, where we say Lord Sri Krishna has raised up his one leg. Now when you're chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the first thing that you always do is when you're meditating upon the Lord is always meditated upon his lotus feet. Why? Because his grace, all the grace of Lord Krishna is on his lotus feet. Now, of course, when you're chanting Hare Krishna mantra, see many times what happens is that our man actually thinks a lot of things. It talks about the man is so naive and so chanchal that what happens when you meditate, when you start chanting Hare Krishna mantra, the man says, hey, listen, I never told you not to chant, but you have this important work. Why don't you get that work finished? Then you chant. I never said that you don't chant. So we then have a tendency that, okay, I will chant after 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Let me get this work done. As soon as you start chanting again, the man say, hey, whenever I told you not to chant, please do finish this work. You need to finish this work as well. So the mind is so chanchal is so bewildering that it does not allow you to actually chant Mahamantra. It does not allow you to meditate upon the Lord Shri Krishna. So when you start chanting, always try to meditate upon the lotus feet. Now see what happens, as Mataji said, the ultimate goal of the meditation is to pure one's intelligence. Now, why somebody's intelligence is not purified? What we think? Prabhuji, what you think? Why one's intelligence is not that purified?
Because we turned away from Krishna.
Yes, that's right, Prabhu.
Sense gratification, our intelligence is attached to sense gratification.
Sense gratifications. Yes, Prabhu, you are quite right. Sense gratification. See, in this material world, the ultimate goal that we think of as a human being is to enjoy ourselves. So how do we enjoy? To satisfy our senses. So when you are at the level of sense gratification, you will not be able to elevate yourself, your intelligence, because your intelligence, your dhira, that intelligence is the governing of your mind. The mind has all these thoughts coming out, but who will direct those thoughts? Your intelligence. So unless your intelligence is not purified, you will always be directed to fulfill your senses. So that's why when, see, these impersonalists, the people who believe in this Nirakar things, that the God does not exist. So what they meditate upon? They meditate upon the effulgence of the God, which is either we call zeroness or the bright light. They meditate upon bright light. Okay? Now, what do you yield? What do you get out of meditating upon the light? There's nothing you can get out of it. Why? Because you are not creating your relationship with the Lord. How will Lord be able to help you? For example, if Lord Shri Krishna is sitting next beside me, if I need his help, how would he be able to help me? Unless I ask for the help. And how would I ask for a help? I will start my relationship with him. Prabhuji, if I want your help, I would say, Prabhuji, would you please help me? So that's the starting of the relationship. Now those impersonalists, which we are going to talk about in the next verse, which is the verse is for them, they think the Lord does not exist. If the Lord does not exist, and they still pray for their material enjoyment. So for example, if they want to enjoy materialistic, so they pray to God that God, please give me so much wealth so that I can buy a good house, a good car. So the question that I would ask them is that if the God does not exist and you are praying to a light, will the light be able to fulfill your wishes? Because light does not have an ear. The God has an ear, right? The God listens to your prayers. Now, it is one of the things that you understand when I say a Prem Sindhu Prabhu, for example, then you know how Prem Sindhu Prabhu looks like. You know that how sweet he talks, how much he's into the Krishna consciousness. But if for example, if I ask Prem Sindhu Prabhu, can you show me your driving license? And say, yes, sure. And what I can see there? Just a light. I don't see the face because Prabhu is just a human, right? So in the same way, for example, if I'm standing outside of the temple and I have a very old phone like Nokia 3310 in about 10 years, 15 years back, we had old phones, right? If I try to take a picture of the Lord, what would I be able to see? Only just a light because that phone did not have a zoom or did not have a good flash cameras, right? But if I have a good friendship with the priest working in the temple and say, Prabhu, can you please help me to take a picture of a Sri Radha Natpur? So the priest will help you, will take you next to the deity, and then you will be able to take the picture of Radha Natpur and you will be able to see the beautiful deity. Same way, exactly same way, when we talk about that these impersonal people, the people or the mindset, the widest people say that there is no Lord exist. Why? Because they never started that relationship with the Lord. Right, Prabhu? Okay. let's move on further. Now, very quickly, one of the couple of things I want to touch upon. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 6, 46 verse, Lord Shri Krishna tells Arjun to be a yogi. Now, what is a yogi? Who is a yogi? So, Lord Shri Krishna talks about who is a yogi. So, in a next verse, verse 47, he says to Arjun, Yogi nam api sarvesam madagate nanantar atmana shraddhavan bhajita yomam same yukta tamo mattaha. So he said, from my opinion, the best of yogis who abides me, who think of me, and who renders the transcendental loving service to me. He is the topmost yogi according to me. So which means that he has a great faith. He has great faith in Krishna. He always follow the Lord Krishna's instructions. He always think of Krishna and Guru, and he always renders his loving devotional service to Lord Krishna. So now I asked a question to you that once intelligence is bewildered or is not purified, so how would one be able to purify the intelligence? So there are the few things that Shukdev Goswami and our great acharyas has taught about. So the first thing we can do is the Archana process. Now what is the Archana process? So basically, you go to a temple, you come to the temple, or you have a deity at your home, of course with the permission of your guru or acharyas or the senior devotees. Get the deity at home and start offering and tulsi leaf, so that you started the Archana process. That means that you now started the relationship with the Lord. Also, you can start with the sadhu sangha. Now what is a sadhu sangha? See, the association makes a lot of difference. When you associate with the worldly people or the people who actually have the mindset of sense gratifications, what they will talk about, what they will teach you. They will teach you how to earn maximum wealth and how to fulfill your sense gratification. But if you have a association with a devotee or a pure devotee or guru, what they will talk about, what they will teach you. They will teach you how the Lord grace, what's the Lord grace like, how the Lord looks like, how you can get the shelter of the Lord, how you can get the protection from the Lord, instead of fulfilling your sense gratification. Also, if you come to the connection with the devotees, they will teach you how to worship a Lord. So in order to learn how to worship a Lord, in 10th chapter Bhagavad Gita and 9th verse, it goes like this: mat chitta madgate prana Budayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So the Lord Krishna says, of my pure devotee dwells on me. So who is the pure devotee of Lord? His thoughts is always in Krishna. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they only derive their satisfaction and bliss by how? By enlightening another people and conversing about me. So they don't do prajalpa. They don't talk unnecessarily. They only talk about Krishna. So that's how you will be able to worship Lord Shri Krishna. So let's go back to the verse again. The last thing that Krishna talks about in the Shukdev Goswami talks about is Param Param Shuddha Yati Dhiri Yatha Yatha. Now what it means? Param Param Shuddha Yati. So as you have control of your mind, because now you have started concentrating on lotus feet of the Lord, and similarly with comparison with the Srimad Bhagavatam, once you have systematically studied Canto 1, then Canto 2, then you will be able to understand Lord's, you will be able to create relationship with the Lord, you will be able to know who the Krishna is, what did he do to protect, to help his devotees. So as you, it's a param param shuddha yati. So as you have control over your meditation, for example, in school we learn A to Z, right? Mataji, we don't have to now. You don't have to again and again study A to Z. But if a student, let's say a student in a grade 4 or 5, he knows how to read A to Z. He doesn't have to meditate upon A to Z. But if I ask him, then would you be able to describe me Shakespeare's poetry? Would he be able to do it? May not be. Why? Well, it's a to Z. He didn't say anything. He just talked about A to Z. But his intelligence is not yet built up to that level. To have that knowledge, to have that intelligence to build up that level, you need to systematically study grammar, for example. Once you learn that, and once you have control over it, you don't have to remember all the time because it's there. So when you're chanting a mantras, when you have your attention on the lotus feet of the Lord, when you meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord, where all the mercy is on the Lord, once you jitam means when parampara means once you have a control of your mind on that, then slowly you progress from his lotus feet to calves, then thighs, then chest, then smiling face of the Lord. So similarly, that when you systematically study Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Canto 2, Canto 3, and then once you're able to create that relationship with the Lord and systematically study up to Canto 9, then probably you will be able to qualify to understand the Rasa Leela of the Shri Krishna, because it's ultimate pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. Right, Prabhu? Okay, we can go on this one, but because of the limitation of the time, and I have to cover the next verse as well, so I stop here. But is there any question on this verse before we conclude this verse? Mataji, any reflections or anything that you want to talk about that I may have missed here?
Yeah, I think Prabhupada says that those who are too engrossed in sense gratification, they should not participate in the Archana form of Radha and Krishna. So that's why we have the deities of Gaur Nitai. So we start our deity worship by worshipping Gaur Nitai deities. That makes us more purified, and then we have Radha Krishna in our homes.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's very good point, Mataji. Thank you. That's right. So Gaur Nitai is so merciful. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nitai Prabhu is so merciful. They are here. They were here 500 years back just to give their mercy on us. They know that we are not qualified to get the mercy of Lord Shri Krishna and Radharani. But to elevate us from that positions, they were here. They were so merciful. We know Jagai Madai's pastimes. So you're right, Mataji. Thank you very much. Is there any other reflections or any other questions, Prabhu? Prabhuji, you have any question?
I was also thinking Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say that unless you hear, you seeing the deities is just an eye exercise. Means first we need to hear about Krishna and then we will be able to see him properly.
Exactly right. Yes. Sravanam. Yes. The 9 folds of the bhakti. The first is Sravanam. Now see, in material world, when you see something, an object or something, then you like that object through your eyes. But in the bhakti, you like or you love to hear. You have the love for somebody or Lord Shri Krishna by hearing. So that's why the first fold of the bhakti is Shravan. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So when you do a Shravan, when you do a Kirtan, then you remember him, Smaran. So that's how, then slowly you will be able to develop that love towards Lord Krishna. Right, Prabhu?
Yes.
Any other question, Prabhu? Okay, let's move on to the next verse. Canto 2, chapter 2, verse number 14. Please repeat after me. Yavanna jayate paravaresmin
Yavanna jayate paravaresmin
Vishveshwara drashtari bhakti yogaha
Vishveshwara drashtari bhakti yoga
Tavattastaviya purushasya rupam
Tavastaviya purushasya rupam
Kriyavasane prayata smareta.
Kriyavasane prayata smareta.
Synonyms. Yavata as long as,
Yavata as long as,
Na does not,
Na does not,
Jayata develop,
Jayata develop,
Para transcendental,
Parashasana,
Avare mundane,
Avara Mandai,
Asmin in the form of,
Asmi in the form of
Vishwa Ishwara, the Lord of all the worlds,
Vishwa Ishvara, the Lord of all worlds.
Drashtari onto the seer,
Study unto the Sira,
Bhakti Yoga, devotional service,
Bhakti Yoga,
Tavata so long,
Tavara so long,
Staviya the gross materialist,
Thaviya, the gross materialist,
Purushasya of the Virada Purusha,
Purushasya, the Virata Purusha,
Rupam universal form,
Rupa, universal form,
Kriya Avasane at the end of one prescribed duties,
Kriya Avasana at the end of one's prescribed duties,
Pratyaha with a proper attention,
Prayataha with proper attention.
Smareta one should remember.
Smrita one should remember.
Translation: unless the gross materialistic develop a sense of loving service unto the Supreme Lord, the sheer of both the transcendental and material world, he should remember or meditate upon the universal form of the Lord at the end of his prescribed duties. We'll talk about it. Purport: the Supreme Lord is the sheer of all worlds, both material and transcendental. In other words, the Supreme Lord is the ultimate beneficiary and enjoyer of the world, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Bhoktaram Yajna Katapasam. Yes, Mother. Excellent. The spiritual world is the manifestation of his internal potency, and the material world is the manifestation of his external potency. The living entities are also his marginal potency, which is a Tatastha Shakti. And by their own choice, they can live in either the transcendental or material world. The material world is not fit place for living entities because they are spiritually one with the Lord, and in the material world, the living entities become conditions by the law of material world. The Lord wants all living entities who are his part and parcel to live with him in the transcendental world and for enlightening conditioned souls in the material world. All the Vedas and the revealed scriptures are there. Although the suffering continuously, the three folds of a conditioned life are not very serious about going back to Godhead, it is due to their misguided way of loving, complicated by sins and virtues. Some of them, who are virtuous by deed, began to re-establish the lost relation with the Lord, but they are unable to understand the personal feature of the Lord. The real purpose of life is to make contact with the Lord and be engaged in his service. That is the natural position of living entities, but those who are impersonalists and are unable to render any loving service to the Lord have been advised to meditate upon his impersonal features, which is a Virata Rup or universal form. Some way or other, one must try to re-establish one's forgotten relationship with the Lord if one at all desire to gain real happiness